Anna Wintour says this about fashion. Like, people are jealous that they can't be a part of it, and that's why they hate it. And it's so true. And I think, like, with Botox is not accessible. I think it should be more accessible. If we were in South Korea right now, everybody would be toxed up because it's so accessible. And we're going to take a trip to South Korea and get our all-stars faces, for sure.
We should discuss that consensually.
It's happening. It's
happening. Like, I'm throwing you in the back of a plane and you're
Get
going.
on. We're going to South Korea.
But I will say, this is so interesting. I feel like because we've been doing like press moments for the show, and I did Sloppy Seconds with Big Dipper and Meatball.
Yes, I love them.
Such an interesting moment because I love the show, but I just was not sure what to expect. And it's funny because I'm the girl in my friend group that is like the out there one. I'm talking about the sex. I'm talking about who was just blowing my back. I feel like, I'm just that person. But when I was in the room with them, I was like clutch as pearls. I don't know what in gay hell I've entered into.
Should I have sent Yvie to this one?
But it was so much fun. It was so much fun.
You were really good too. It was very sweet getting to hear you lift me and Ben up, talk shit about us, reveal your true self you've been hiding, you two-faced bitch.
Well, and that's also the thing, like doing these shows, it's like, oh, I realize like I know how to talk about myself when it comes to like in this moment, but it's been interesting having to go somewhere like, oh, I'm the one being interviewed instead of actually doing the interviewing. And I don't know if I prefer it. I feel like I to not answer questions, I flip it and start asking them questions, and then it's like the attention's off of me.
It's so funny you said. I literally said that to Maddie as we were listening. I was like, you know how I love to be interviewed? Ryan loves to be the interviewer. Like, you're so good at it. It's one of the reasons why oftentimes we're like, I don't know, maybe Ryan should just do that interview when we've been talking about the show. It's because you are so good at it. And it was great to see you celebrated.
Oh my
in that
God.
way.
I mean, hopefully it just gets better because I'm also doing I did Joy Taylor's podcast, which was really fun. She's like a sports girly. I talked to my brother last night who was like, you were with Joy Taylor? And I was like, oh yeah, like I know her, but I wasn't aware of how big of a sports girl. I mean, she's like a sports baddie. Like she's one of the main women in sports like broadcasters. And so that was really cool. I don't know when that's coming out, but I'm excited about it. It's fun. We talked about a lot of different things. We talked about boundaries. We talked about just kind of
sports
like being
stuff.
Queer. Not even really sports stuff. It was
The
kind of
NFL?
crazy. Yeah,
Boundaries,
we talked about that.
downs.
But like her show's all about going deep and personal. Like it's literally called Too Personal. And so it was an interesting time. How was y'all's week? How was y'all's weekend?
Not as impressive as yours. Clearly.
That's not true.
Damn.
Actually,
it was.
Wait. I want to hear Ben's.
I went to see opening night of My Son's a Queer, But What Can You Do?, which is this incredible show written and starring Raj Madge, who is a West End performer. This show was supposed to be on Broadway, and what happened is that it never opened. And it was really, really, really tough because it was this amazing, super successful show. But who's going to invest in a bald, white, British, 30-year-old to do their own solo show on Broadway? It just didn't come together. And it still may, and I have hope for it. But first of all, it was really exciting to be invited. And I was texting Ryan. I was like, I think this show is like kind of moving our stature up a little bit because they brought me in like the side entrance. Ooh. They had me sitting in front, like Plasma was behind me. These like Tony Award winning stars.
Oh no, girl, that's not bringing your stature up. They just demoted you.
No, I'm saying I was sitting a couple rows before. Plasma's a very famous musical gay.
You are officially Gaymous.
I'm Gaymous. That's what's happening. And this has been my dream, right? I don't even need to be famous, but like to be Gaymous, to be part of the gay Illuminati. And as we're seeing the erasure of queer media, there's less and less spaces like this. And so when we go to these spaces, so many people came up to me and they're like quoting the show. And I'm like, oh, that's episode 2.
Wow.
You're really actually, or people were quoting the episode that had just come out on Friday. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, this is actually doing something.
Ooh.
The show was so incredible. Congratulations to Rod. We need more queer shows. We need more opportunities for people to tell their stories, and that's what solo shows really do. And so to see this show where they talk about like growing up, there's all this old clips from when they were a kid, and you just see that they always knew that they were a star and the world didn't know. And so they created this space to show the world, and it was so beautiful.
That's the issue with queer people. We all know we're stars. We all know. How can you be like this fabulous, like popping out, and then have to be told like, oh, no, you're actually doing things backwards. And you're like, no, people just need to catch up.
It was an alter ego birth out of trauma.
Yeah, like we all know we're stars to the point where sometimes even when we shouldn't be stars, we're stars.
I will have to say, I think I may need to move because I was on the elevator and this woman is so sweet, and I don't know if she's listening, but one of my neighbors was like, oh my God, I was on a Drag Race subreddit and I saw that you are Gaymous. And I was kind of like, huh? What? And I saw you had a podcast. I was like, work, yeah. And then I immediately was plotting like, okay, so I need to move because one, there's just way too many people in this building that I know. And then two, not being on the subreddit and seeing that we have HighKey now, it's just so interesting. Like, as we're growing this thing and people are actually listening, there's a moment that I feel like, Yvie, you've probably gotten very used to around like trying to set your boundaries. And I just can't stop thinking about the Doja Cat in the fan situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, y'all, it has been some drama. Like, and it all started out at a paper magazine party at the Eagle with Mariah Carey randomly popping up, and Doja Cat was there.
Which
all
is
the stars were there.
chaos enough.
But yeah, so there's been all this drama around, obviously, like Doja Cat and her response to this fan who everybody seemed very drunk in this TikTok video that went viral. This fan gave her his shirt and he was kind of all over her. And Doja was being very sweet. And it seemed like every party in the video was very kind of like into this vibe. Plot twist, Doja Cat tweets and says, I threw the shirt that this fan gave away from me and she felt quite uncomfortable.
That musty-ass shirt.
And she was not actually feeling. She's like, just because I smile at you doesn't mean I fuck with you. And it created this whole discourse around, okay, boundaries, her setting the boundaries, this fan kind of, was it whose fault is it in this moment? People are blaming Doja, to be quite honest, because they're like, oh, you tweeted this and now you're sicking all your fans on this random
Well, because we need to know, first of all,
person.
we need to know the Doja history, because this is not the first time that Doja has turned on her fans. And she has gone, listen, I'm just saying the truth. She lost 500,000 Instagram followers because of it in the
Turn
past.
on her friends is like,
You cannot turn on
chaotic.
your fans, bitch. You cannot turn on
yes,
people
she literally
that you
says,
are.
I hate you. I hate my fans.
Yes, but that's the thing is turning on your fans implies that she somehow ever actually genuinely loved her fans. And that's why this situation pisses me off, because what really happened is the parasocialness of this relationship got exposed.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people don't like.
I hate-
No. That's what people don't like. People don't like that celebrities are paid make our entire livelihoods by pretending for people, by being, yes, I am your rag doll. Yes, let's take a picture. Oh, you've got me in this uncomfortable corner. Let's giggle about it.
Those people
And
also
I
pay
think-
your bills.
Yes, those people pay your bills, but at what point do you get to lose your humanity?
Let me make a point real quick, because I actually hate fandoms. I hate we're the this, we're the butterflies, we're the kittens, we're the this and that. I hate fandoms. I've never been a part of it. But this specific incident is tough because if you watch the video, anyone would think like Doja's not uncomfortable at all. And this is where the conversation about
you ain't
boundaries.
never faked being uncomfortable in a
Of
situation?
course,
Girl,
of
that
course.
part.
Let me finish. Reclaiming my time. Sorry.
Doja's time.
The thing is, like, boundaries are set by the person setting the boundaries. You can't expect someone to know your boundaries. You can say, oh, hey, honey, sorry, I don't touch you. But you can't expect someone when you're smiling and saying this is great to somehow not know it enough that you can then shit talk them. And then when you listen to the video of the person and the context before the conversation, she's saying, oh, I want this shirt. Oh, great. She could have just let it go, first of all. But second of all, like, you set boundaries. If you don't want someone touching you, say that. Period.
How well did that work for me, Ben? How well did that work for me? Like when I literally at the beginning of my fame that we're now all starting to experience, I guess, in new ways, when I was like, hey, you guys, I just finished a fucking show. Don't take pictures with me. I was piled on so quickly that alumni of the franchise were piling on and being like, well, I'm not like this, bitch. I'll take pictures. When Chapel Roan started setting boundaries, people started fucking trying to cancel her for being a toxic little brat. So I
Because
don't
it's
agree.
how you said.
I let you finish your point. I let you
Finish.
The point is that we as a culture create monsters. That is exactly what this parasocial relationship is us pouring our feelings into somebody who literally has absolutely zero fucking responsibility to pay him back. And it is nice.
Okay.
It is nice as a fan to feel appreciated. But bitch, Beyonce does appreciate you in two ways. She appreciates you in the way that it feels so good to know that your story is impacting somebody, that you're helping someone, that they're helping you, that we are all connected. That's the same feeling you get on Molly. And then it feels good to know that your bills are paid.
All right, let me jump in really quick because I think there's a moment where I sit in the middle of you both, right? I think I see where Ben is coming from a fan perspective, but ultimately I do agree about the levels of parasocial relationship. And I think if we really think about Doja's trajectory since the beginning, she's always been a rogue artist. She's always been someone that has never held her mouth. Like she's always kind of said what she's thinking, and also has kind of really from the beginning has tried to establish like, hey, all of this stuff that stan culture creates is not how I'm maneuvering in this space. She's always been very clear about that. And I have had moments, and I think what I witnessed in that moment is someone coming like a little maybe intoxicated from a party, and she didn't really have security around her, and cameras are everywhere. This camera probably was pulled out when they saw her, when this guy who apparently there's been a lot of videos around him kind of being this person that pops up around celebrities and kind of does it where he's either giving out jewelry or he's like, there's a crazy pizza delivery story about how he's stuck in the gates of Kylie Jenner's house. And so like this guy doesn't really know boundaries. And it's really interesting to me when we don't have the ability to see that video and see that someone is just trying to like maneuver a drunk night and maybe isn't very like able to set their boundaries, but they're trying to kind of get through this low-key uncomfortable situation while also being like, nice. Because if she would have flipped out, y'all would have dragged her for that as well.
But what about what happened next? But that's all. So say that's all fine and good. Then why use your platform to go after someone in such a harmful way? That's where we have to think about
the
response.
I don't think it's not harmful.
Hold on, I'm not
it's
done.
Not harmful.
This is where you have to. Oh, absolutely. I don't know if you have been actually. So you do know.
Yes, I have.
I have also been attacked on the internet many, many, many times. And an
attack on the internet is not an attack in real life. Okay.
And I feel like it's a little bit of a stretch.
The internet is real life. The internet is real life, first of all, because it still hurts when you have thousands of people calling you one thing or the other. All I'm saying is this.
I agree.
All I'm saying is this. That situation just didn't have to go like that for multiple reasons. I don't think anyone...
But he's milking it, so it's kind of like he's enjoying the response. So it's like, I don't, how am I supposed to be feeling bad for right now?
That's my point on both sides, is like, the thing about celebrity, it is a privilege. And it does come with perks. You know what I mean?
And just because people pay your bills does not mean that you don't deserve like humanity and don't deserve to be like treat boundaries.
Don't they deserve kindness?
And I think she has. Her kindness is for me.
I don't think Doja Cat has been kind to her fans.
Okay, she was presenting him with kindness in the moment when you are trapped
totally.
there, Ben. The number of fucking prides I've been to, where my security just hasn't dealt with a rude girl of my size, so they let me get mobbed by people who are like, oh yeah, and then also my mother's here and she's dying of cancer, and make a video and let me like suck up your time, and oh my God, I'm gonna just rub my sweat on you. Like, it is, our job is to put on the fucking smile, and what Doja Cat has consistently done has been like, yeah, that smile comes off. So while it was maybe mean of her to afterwards be like, dude, this is some bullshit.
It was mean. I think we can say that it wasn't kind.
It was
not kind, but I think a lot of people forget that we all individually as humans have experienced moments where we're not kind.
Sure.
We're not mean. And I think we often put, especially when it comes to the intersection of being a Black woman in this space, I think we put a lot of like expectations on someone on how they should like be and show up, especially if you're a star, especially if you're a woman, especially if you're a Black woman. And for me, the response around Doja Cat has been very interesting to see. And I've also been low-key like, have we lost the plot here? Like, are we not able to like talk about, yeah, her decision to tweet that was wrong, but then also this parasocial relationship that fans think they have with you is actually harmful, because now, even if you do create a moment where you're trying to set boundaries for yourself, you might be ripped to shreds for it. And so it's a little wonky. I don't know.
And I'll say this, it's like billionaires, okay? Celebrities shouldn't exist because it's just like billionaires shouldn't exist. Celebrities are a construct created in society to create hierarchies and aspirations that are all rooted in commodifying ourselves as individuals. Now with social media, every single person is a business. Every single person is an influencer. That means every single person aspires to be that person. So they're in space and they feel equal now because we're all creators. We're just one viral video away from being Doja Cat. La 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 la.
But if you're not famous,
now.
Ben, you're not going to be able to get to the side entrance of the Broadway show.
And that's exactly. And look, that was my dream all my life, right? Like I wanted that power and proximity. I absolutely did, because I grew up on the other extreme. But I'm saying that we also have to acknowledge our roles in it. That's all I'm saying. I don't think that Doja should be attacked on the internet, but that's the internet. What I think is like, we have to realize we have a lot of privilege and benefit that comes with the visibility. And all I'm saying is we should pick our battles that we go to publicly against real people who might not have the resource to...
Sorry, that fan is fake as fuck. The fact that he's literally milking it and trying to sell the experience just proves what this is. Like, yes, we should all try and be better people, but when somebody is literally trying to use you, like that's what actually
it's
makes
transactional.
Well, but that's the thing, is it's completely transactional.
Yeah.
You can't be like, it's wrong for her to hurt somebody who's trying to make money off of her. And the reason why I'm saying this and maybe so impassioned is this over the weekend where I was at a fairy wedding and it was lovely. I opened up a DM on Instagram that was buried in like the message requests and read back to the history, the beginning of this history where, a queer fan of mine, a business owner, I guess, had been communicating with one of my friends and sent them a box of shirts as a gift to give me. And it said in the original message, like, no strings attached. These are just like from me to you. I appreciate what you've done for the community. And I remember my friend giving me those shirts and being like, it'd be cool if you could tag them. And me honestly not wearing those shirts or thinking about them for like half a year. And then I'm checking the DMs and it's like, hey, just wondering if you got the shirts. Hey, so your friend said you got the shirts. Are you ever going to post about them? To what they had finally messaged, which was, it is so rude of you to like manipulate somebody within your community who spent X amount of money on a gift for you. And I'm not even asking for like a repost. But your acknowledgement would have been nice since we are family.
See, there's no empathy. Everyone just automatically
That's
assumes you're the villain in everyone's story, like in someone's story.
Because it's one-sided. It's a one-sided story.
But that's what I'm saying is that's what parasocial means, and that's what celebrity in this time means.
Yeah.
It means you are open to whatever criticism from everyone all the time to play whatever character they need at any given moment. It's not just a t-shirt, a musty-ass t-shirt at an after party. It's at your grandma's funeral.
Yeah.
It's at a friend's wedding out in the woods in the middle of fucking New Hampshire somewhere, and somebody seeing something in you and being like, oh my God, I cannot believe you're here. You have to stop whatever like character you were trying to play for this wedding to be Yvie Oddly, because that means something to me. And so, yes, it is good when you're a good person and you go the extra mile. But I also think We need to stop trying to hold people so accountable for letting off steam in completely harmless ways.
I know, because we're able to do it in private, but like when someone has a platform and someone is as big, like I've been so close to like celebrity, especially like in a YouTube creator way. There's a creator who shall remain nameless that I was a part of their world for a little bit. And I remember seeing them in their home in Calabasas, afraid to leave or even go to the mall because they were afraid that people, anytime they would go, there would be cameras and people looking and all the things.
So they had to
like,
stay in their home in Calabasas.
I know. It's like, it's the worst.
That's
it's the
nuance.
worst.
Like,
no, but it's one of those things where I'm like, there is a level of fame where it feels like it turns into prison. That's me saying that. And I think, I often think, it is something that people sign up for when they start to get big with in their creator, or they're an artist and they start to get big and all this kind of new support comes in. But I don't know. I just feel like sometimes we lose empathy. We lose that thing that we constantly are asking for and we don't give it to others. And
in both directions.
Yeah, this Doja Cat moment is crazy. Let us know what your thoughts are. Hit us up at HighKey here. We're always down for y'all to join the conversation. But I think it's time for a little bit of a break.
Yes, when we come back, we have a big idea. This week, we're talking about everyone's, most favorite, least complicated holiday, Father's Day.
Father's Day, Daddy.
We'll see you right after the break.
Alrighty, welcome back.
Yeah, before we jump back in, we have a quick request. If you are high-key loving the show, then take a second to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode.
And while you're at it, rate us, drop us a review, and tell your friends.
Yeah, it really helps us to pay our bills.
No, for sure. And honestly, if you love us even more and you want to keep the HighKey going, make sure you follow us on Instagram and TikTok at HighKey here. And of course, on our Patreon, where you are not going to want to miss any of the juicy, juicy tea.
Thanks for the love, weirdos. Back to the show. HighKey.
Okay, so welcome back, everybody. It is time for the big idea portion of the show, which today I kind of affectionately named Call Us Daddy Issues, or maybe High-Key Daddy Issues, because this is our show, not Alex's.
Yeah, exactly. This episode, I think I pitched it in our editorial meeting. Last week we had Father's Day, and Father's Day is like a complicated holiday for me. And I won't say that I was necessarily sad because I'm quite indifferent about my own father, but I was just like thinking more about the
Not
day.
you hate him.
I mean, I don't even hate him. I just don't care enough to hate him. You know what I mean? I guess I could share my kind of stories. My dad was kind of in and out of my life, and I remember in second grade, he was supposed to come home for Christmas, and he had called us and he said, "Oh, I got you a PlayStation 2. We have all these things. I'll be home soon." And Christmas Day came around. He wasn't there. And then the next day and the next day, whatever, he was always kind of flaky. And then he kind of disappeared for like a decade. Okay. And then showed back up in my life when I was in middle school, 8th grade, worst time of my life, right after my grandmother had died, and was like, "I'm so sorry." Basically told this whole story about how he was holding someone's Coke and had to run away to Mexico. It's quite a story. But I just like, I didn't have my father in my life through so much hardship, through poverty, through all of these things. And I was thinking about it on Father's Day because I was just kind of upset around this idea of like, man, my life has been hard and it would have been a lot easier like had I had this parent in my life. And like, I want to be a father soon. And it was just a complicated day. So I guess I'll start by asking, what is Father's Day like for you? What is your own relationship with your father like?
I didn't even realize it was Father's Day. Like I didn't even realize it was Father's Day until my mom told me because she wanted to check in on me because my dad died in 2022, but he had never really been in my life as a kid. There's a really interesting story. I met him like when I was a toddler when we lived in Illinois still, but then when we moved to Tennessee, all contact kind of just like deceased. And I didn't hear from him again until I was graduating high school around 16 because I wrote this essay that my English teacher made us write about defeating your dragon. And my dragon was basically forgiving my dad for never being in my life. And my mom, because at that time we shared a laptop, she thought it was a great idea to find my dad and send it to him. And the next thing I know, and I'm waking up one morning and I have a voicemail on my cell phone from my dad, being like, "Hey, son, this is your dad. Call me." And I'm just like, now, bitch, what the fuck? And so it took me a minute to call him back. The next thing I know, my dad is showing up to my graduation party with my 3 siblings and his wife at the time. They were younger. My siblings are like late 20s. And I'm the oldest out of all the siblings. There's 5 of us, but only 3 of them that came. And so I was kind of thrown into this moment of not really knowing how to deal with this, right? Like I'm like, why is this kind of spotlight kind of being taken from me, and I have to like now be this big brother to these little siblings, and then like talk to my dad. And I just remember being so awful. Fast forward to my 21st birthday, my dad was trying to be back in my life, and he wanted to give me money for my 21st birthday because he wanted me to have a good time, and I was spending in Atlanta with friends, and he gave me money for that. But to be honest, like, it was off and on. Like he always, from my understanding and my point of view, it was like the grass was always greener on the other side. Like he had the wife, he had the kids, and they were getting all of him. But when I started to become closer to my siblings as we've gotten older, I found out it was just as rocky there. And it wasn't actually everything that I thought it was. And they were actually having their own issues. But once he passed, I went to the funeral, and what an interesting experience that was, because I had never met my dad's side of the family. And I found out that my dad actually was like listening to my radio show at the time and was like talking about me to all of these family members who knew me, and was actually that graduation moment. My little brother was like, "Do you think my brother's gay?" And from what my stepmom would tell me, she said basically, well, your dad was like, "Well, what does that mean if he's gay? Does it matter?" Like they had kind of like this conversation around like not caring around my sexuality, where on the opposite side of my mom's side, it was completely different. And so I remember getting the news when he died, and I had this like guttural reaction because I didn't know him, but I felt like I had so much guilt because I spent so much of my life resenting him instead of like maybe leaning in.
Like holding that space for it and being like, yeah, you know what? I do get a dad, even though I don't really see the point of it now.
For sure.
It's kind of funny because, I have also a very famous, a very Gaymous father, even though he's not gay, despite my strongest efforts to convert him. But my relationship with not only him, but fatherhood in general is like way more complex, because ultimately, like, my mother was my primary caregiver. And to my dad's credit, for somebody who was also in college halfway across the country, like, he did come back, and he did ultimately like make the choice to try and commit himself to being in my life. I just think by the time I was really forming memories, like, my entire idea of fatherhood was just completely warped, because I had him, and then I had my stepdad. And some of my earliest memories are like these 2 fully grown Black men like fighting each other in broad daylight in the middle of the street for my affection. So dreams come true.
Who doesn't want you men
That's
fighting over
happened
them?
many times since, too.
Like, honestly, I know my mom was over there like, yeah, I did this. But the reason why I just cut to that so specifically is none of these people were my mother. My mom was my only sense of safety and security. And the more I got to know my stepdad, and the more I got to know my real dad, and the more I got to know my granddad, like, the more terrified I became of men, because they were always the people who were telling me, like, Oh, nope, you shouldn't be playing with dolls. Oh God, you want to play dress up? No. Why is he always twirling around? I a lot of my book, all about Yvie, is actually direct interview with my dad, and it's interesting hearing his perspective because he echoed the same thing that my stepdad did when I read my own book finally, and I cried and like confronted him about the direct homophobia I got. And he started breaking down and crying because he just didn't know how to raise someone like me.
Yeah.
He didn't know how to relate, how to protect me. And I think in general there is this issue with that occurs around fathers, especially fathers in the queer community or of people who are in the queer community and fathers of color. Like, I think it's a lot easier to step away from the responsibilities of like what you're doing and what you're raising as a man than it is as somebody who like birthed you. And I know not everybody has their super solid relationship with mom, but it is like one step harder to carry something inside you for 9 months and then not give a shit about it in the way that moms do. So like growing up, I never cared about dads. In fact, I remember like whenever I felt like I was being mistreated at my dad's, which I wasn't, they were just making me eat vegetarian food and they wouldn't let me eat any sugar. I remember I would like call to my mom and cry and be like, I just want to come home.
A black family that was like telling you to not have sugar or meat. Wow, that's unheard of. Right?
I mean, it's really wild because they're deeply spiritual. Like I look at my family in 2 ways, and I kind of look at my experience of dads in 2 ways, which is like white Christian, even though that family's black too, but like white, like Southern Baptist Christian family. And then black power, moved to Africa for a decade, like leader of the Black Panthers family. Mm-hmm. And I think both of them did a fantastic job at trying to make space for somebody who is as weird and different and complex as even their relationship to me forced us to be. But it's difficult.
I have a question. I want to kind of talk about like what we think it means to be a good father and what we think like and like how that relates to masculinity, because I hear both of y'all giving a lot of grace to your fathers, but also taking a lot of accountability for the actions of grown adults in your life, who even if they didn't have the resources could have sought the resources. Like that's what's hard. Like Ryan, I hear you talk about like, oh, I had this resentment in this, but like I think that was equal and earned. Like it's nice he was being all nice and not homophobic talking to your siblings, but like
it's a little bit more complicated than that. I think I told you all
sure, but
the condensed version just for time.
No, sure, but like do you know what I mean? Like I'm just like wondering about the grace piece. Like what?
Yeah, I mean after a while though, doesn't it become exhausting holding on to shit? Like after a while, like I've had, sure. That's something I've had to learn with like my relationship with my mom, because if I'm being honest, like Father's Day normally was another Mother's Day where I'm getting up in front of the church for, you know, the kid that has a single mother, and you're like, my mom is my dad, like my dad is my mom. Mm-hmm, you know, like that was just always kind of what it was. Like, and I think I did have resentment towards that. But it was more so like resentment for, not even resentment. It was more so like, I wondered what life would have been like if my mom's worries about having a male father figure was like kind of like subsided, because she was so busy trying to raise me and trying to like palm me off to like deacons and ministers at our church because she wanted me to be around men and kind of learn what it meant to be a boy, that if my dad was in my life and he was giving her a different perspective and not like being homophobic or what all the things, I wouldn't have kind of had this resentment towards masculinity in the ways that I do, of like trying to completely avoid it. Or if I'm put in a space where like masculinity is present, I'm kind of like getting the ick. And so I
Ooh,
wonder around,
yeah.
like, that's kind of like my brain around it, like, because I told him all these things. I've had the conversation, and after a while, like, there's, it is what it is. Like, I can't. I can't hold. I don't feel like holding on to it
You
anymore.
got closure.
Yeah,
got closure.
I got closure after his funeral and being able to like meet my dad's family, who I thought I was introducing myself to for the first time. But no, they knew who I was. And yes, he could actively have had. He could have actually actively like introduced me or been in part of my life if he wanted to. But hearing my sibling side of the things, he was dealing with his own kind of like life of being. Like he didn't really know how to balance being for the streets and being a father man, like a husband and a father. Like he didn't really know how to balance that. And that was his own thing. And I think for me as an adult, I'm really in this time where I'm just like viewing my parents as like humans and just like understanding like, oh, this is further impacting my decision on if I really want to be a parent, what the fuck that means moving forward. So I don't know. Like I'm offering grace, but also I'm trying not to carry that shit.
I think that's the biggest thing is, I had, despite all the love I was surrounded with, I still had a lot of the same queer trauma, being like called nicknames and picked on by my father figures. Both of them, all of them, every father figure in my life, even if it was like joyfully or whatever, othered me for being queer. And I felt like as soon as I was kicked out of my house for being a delinquent and deviant in other perceived ways, I built a grudge against my family. Like I did have it hard growing up. It could have been harder in different ways. It could have been lighter in different ways. But I needed the space of, for me, a decade to be angry and be pissed and see what I could make for myself. Like build queer family. That taught me so much about how I relate to my own family. To the point where like now when I see them, I'm hit with this sense of like melancholia about knowing that they tried their best given the circumstances, and sometimes it wasn't good enough, and sometimes it still won't be good enough, and sometimes I'm still going to do the same things.
Have you forgiven your dad, Ben? Like have you forgiven that like that the relationship that could have been, or do you still find yourself, I mean maybe this whole conversation answers that. But what are your feelings right now when you think about your dad?
I guess I'm still dealing with the ramifications of his actions. And so it's hard to forgive when it still feels active. And like I wish my dad was dead.
Oh, wow.
Like I think that might be easier than like having someone out in the world actively not choosing you, And I think that has created a dynamic in my life where I just want to be chosen. I just want to be picked. I just want to be loved,
Yeah.
And so for me, it's hard. I'm not angry at him. I really am indifferent. Like I really am when it comes to him. I don't know him. If he did die, it wouldn't matter to me besides the fact of the finality that at least like he's no longer actively choosing to not have this incredible person in his life. That is me. That is my brother. And so I guess what's hard is like I take him at his fullness. I take him as a human, but he was a grown-ass adult in his 30s when he chose to have a child. I didn't choose to be born. And while he was off having fun, we were, barely scraping by, just barely scraping by. And so I was also that kid who was like, my mom was my dad because she was, but my mom also struggled to be my mom, Yeah. And so I was my father. And so I was my parent. And so I have to continue to be. And what I'm really mourning more than anything is like competent parents as an adult, where it's just like, I'm going through something and I have someone I can go to where like I actually respect what I'm getting back.
I relate
instead
to that,
of having to be that for them. So no, I don't think I have forgiven him. And I don't think I will I've let go for me, but I've not forgiven him because I don't forgive him. Like that's the problem. I don't currently have forgiveness in my heart for him.
And it's so valid that I think everything that you just expressed is such a valid way of feeling because for so long I also felt that same thing. But I think it's so interesting how I feel like a lot of some of the sentiment that you expressed for your dad, I kind of swung it over to my mom in a lot of ways. And I love my mom, and I think we're in a better place. But it's so interesting when you're really trying to actively kind of like clean the slate and allow yourself to like move forward for you and to know that you're worth it and you're worthy of the love and being chosen and all the things. It's really, really hard when those days come around and you're reminded of like the lack.
And it makes me think about like what I want to be. And like, Ryan, you had asked us off camera, like, kind of like who are the dads, our TV dads that we thought about, and it's so silly, and I hate it.
Are just culture daddies?
Yeah,
know,
like
culture-
who are your favorite dads? Like, what makes a good dad to you?
Well, it's so annoying, but mine was Bill Cosby and the Cosby Show.
Oh,
And-
same. I love that show, and it sucks. It didn't age well. It aged like milk.
I love that show. Or even Uncle Phil in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like these like black men who like had it together and who weren't always perfect, but like, loosened their tightness, because I'm wound up and type A, and like I know I want my kid to be a scholar, but they might be a garbage person, both as a person and in profession, and like I would have to love them either way. Like, but they taught life lessons and they just were fun and they had dinner at the table together. Like, I wanted that quintessential family life, and when I saw black families that looked like that, I just didn't know a lot of black families that looked like that. And so Bill Cosby, piece of fucking shit.
That was gonna be mine. You kind of ate that, but it sucks because, I thought for me, I was like, TV dads are fun, but also when you really think about it, like when it comes from a cultural perspective, like TV dads often were like the dumb ones, like they were kind of like the ones that like they didn't really take, like they weren't really active, and they came in for like the really feel good dad moments, but like they really didn't show up, and it was really kind of like the woman or the mom running the household. And so I was like, how about we make it gay and just be like, who are your favorite daddies in general?
Okay, well, yeah, because I was gonna say I'd
actually rather do that.
I on the longer list.
Yeah, and straight men do not deserve to be praised on this.
Also, I didn't fuck with any of those daddies. Just to like get this out of my system. Like even Bill Cosby, I did not like men. I did not like men and what they bring to relationships, especially in the media, being like, oh, beer. Oh, that hot girl. Oh, my wife, who I, for some reason, don't deserve at all. Like, that was always a no for me. The dad I wanted growing up was the guy who was living next door, who we were friends with his kids, and he kind of watched over all the neighborhood kids. Even after his wife left him, he was there, and he was compassionate, and he liked fun. He put fun more highly than rules or grades or being a good man, or like he never discouraged his kids or me from having emotions or expressing myself or being different. He rollerbladed and he wore tie-dye, and he died last year. And I came to terms with a lot of what I guess I'm seeking in my partners and what I'm seeking in myself now, because my good dad was just some guy who cared so much about trying to be good to kids that he wasn't afraid if it was feminine, weird, like ugly, strange. This was obviously before every gay guy was called a groomer, and he definitely was gay coded, even though he was straight. So, shout out to Brian, wherever you are in the universe. Like, thank you for at least giving me something to aspire to if I wanted to raise kids.
And he's dead, so we don't have to bleep his name.
His name is Brian. I don't remember I do remember their last name. I'm not going to say it.
How about
Oh
you,
my
Ryan?
goodness.
Actually, can I ask? Can we just like? Because I know we're running out of time. I really want to know if y'all want to be parents. Because I have no
Ooh.
idea. I actually don't know the answer to this question. I know all the daddies Ryan wants.
I see I'm like in the middle. I feel like if I find the right person, for sure. But also I also see a world where I don't have parents, and I actually want to. I have so many, like, my siblings have. One of my siblings has kids, and I kind of want to start leaning into like nieces and nephews and being like the uncle. And like my best friend, she has a daughter whose birthday is coming up that I visited when I was in New York, and I was like, I actually really want to like be in this little girl's life and maybe have kids through that lens. So it's like I've been thinking about it more and more, because there's some moments where I'm like, I'm not necessarily willing to stop the train on the tracks when it comes to like sacrificing a lot of the things that comes with parenthood. And I know some parents are like, you don't have to sacrifice anything. But if I have like an important gig or something, I don't know if I'm going to sacrifice it to go to the kid's school, for the soccer game or the theater thing. Like, I just don't know. Like, I'm like, right now I'm in the mindset that I would not. But I do see myself one day possibly having kids if I meet the right person. I'm so down for it. I don't know if I would be a good parent, but I'm into it.
That last part I think is the hottest thing I've ever heard about parenting. Is like, I think I could be a good parent. Or no, actually that's a lie. I don't have the kindness. I don't have like all that grace and generosity and warmth and like patience really for children that I was talking about with my neighbor. I don't have it. And I always had this fantasy of having kids with the right person, the person who did have that. But I think that's the issue with a lot of people's idea of parenting, because you're still going to have to be in there too. You're going to have to figure out how you guys work together, what trauma you're willingly going to pass down. And ultimately, if you're willing to like make the sacrifices of being something that literally only exists to give your life over to that tiny little creature that's going to suck it all and maybe someday like own a bank or whatever parents want. What about you, Ben? I'm curious.
I have a dog too, so it's kind of like I'm already parenting.
I can have a kid and a dog, bitch.
And you forgot it was Father's Day? Did you not get anything?
I'm like, I gotta give her. She on medicine right now that I gotta give her drops for. I am a full mother that works 2 jobs and loves her kids and never stops.
With gentle hands in the heart of a fighter. Sorry, I loved Reba. I definitely want kids. Today's my 9-year anniversary, which in gay is like, 50 years. So it's about time.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. I've always known I wanted to have kids. I've always known since I was very young. I have 22 first cousins on my mom's side. Big Italian family.
That's crazy.
It's wild. And I was there for the birth of so many of them. And I you always want to do better. And I know that I won't be perfect. This trauma, no, I'm not going to be perfect as a parent. But I think like our job as parents is to train kids to be adults. And I see so many people who these days are just like letting their kids do anything. They take it for granted. For us to have a child, like I believe in adoption, but it's hard for queer people to have kids. I would love to have a baby to start. Like I would really love to have like a little newborn baby. That's $50,000 right off the top. If it's not, if it's not a surrogate, if that's just a domestic adoption. And so like fatherhood has been quite inaccessible to me. And I love a number of foster kids that are in my life through my partner, and we love them. But their moms, I think all the time, like some of these kids could be taken out of their home. I'm like, you're gonna have to kill me. You want to take my kid out of my home, who's been there for years and years and years, to go back with some, I don't know, crackhead or whatever. And so, no shade to the crackheads. So yes, I want to be a father. I want to try to do a better job than the job that was done for me. And ultimately, I think that it makes life worth living. Like I think that my biggest mistake in life was thinking life was all about me. And I am actually a tiny piece of this world. I don't matter as one thing. I matter by the impact that I can make in multiples. And that means I have to be giving out into the world. And I think creating a little creature to go and multiply that impact is a special gift.
Uh-oh, Ben, your hormones, they're stronger than your logic.
Girl.
They got you.
I mean, but also, I
No,
think we
dude.
can lead the next generations being great quuncles, which queer uncles.
Yes.
Because I, who doesn't? I would love to be the cool, uncle that comes in and like picks you up from a party because you're too afraid to call your parents because you are a little wasted. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be, that safe space where we can go talk and I can take you shopping and I'll do all the things. You know, like have real conversation.
Because it takes a village.
It does. Being a part of the village is important.
I to these foster kids call me Uncle Ben, and they love me and they love to see me and they run up when I'm there, and they, every once in a while they'll open up, and one of the older boys will sometimes be like, I miss my dad, he said to me randomly one day. And his dad was heavily abusive to him, and it's hard for me to think about him being literally permanently blind because of the abuse of his father, and still saying, I miss my father. And it's like, wow, like to open up to me was a level of trust. Like, to me, being a father in basically masculinity that isn't toxic is about love and strength and safety and security. And I see men, this incel culture that's coming up where, like Yvie has said in the past, men see the world through other men's eyes. And it's become this anti-woman thing. Like, we hate women, we hate femininity. And I think like the perfect masculine person is a person who also is feminine as well. Like, that's why I love queerness as an identity. And where when I think of my masculinity, it's like through a queer lens, is like, it's about love and strength and safety and security and undoing that nasty lens and not looking at the world through the eyes of men, because unfortunately, historically, that has been destruction and violence and hatred. And this has been really helpful, guys. I'm always going to look for a chance to trauma dump.
No, but thank you for sharing.
I'm glad you did. I also just think it's a lot of the conversation that is subtextually happening right now.
Yeah.
A lot of the support for our current president is from young straight males who feel like they've gotten crushed down, that there's no space for them, that people aren't thinking about them. And I know that they've literally had all of history to work with, but we also can't completely disenfranchise somebody just because they have a history of being at the top, especially if these kids don't get to live that history. Mm-hmm. And my uncle is like a political activist, a life coach. Shout out H Soul. He's doing a whole series speaking about masculinity and femininity and how both presences need to exist within every parent, specifically to foster the idea for your child that it is good to be a strong man, and it is good to be a strong woman, and it is good to be a strong... I'm going to fight him on the they-them thing eventually. But be
a good person. Be a strong person. Embrace the best of both worlds.
And that's what we're really here about, is we're here to show, that just because you are born a certain way or fit into certain social boundaries, whether or not you believe in them, doesn't mean you can't be a good person.
HighKey. All right, y'all, it's our favorite part of the show. It's our HighKey. Let's talk about it. Yvie, what are you HighKey about this week?
Okay. This week, I'm so HighKey because I'm splitting it in two again. I've already talked about them a little. I cannot wait. King of Drag is starting this week, is premiering this week on Revry, which is a free queer streaming app network. I'm so excited to see these kings. Like, this is the representation I've been wanting to see, just to be like, yeah, different kinds of queer art can exist, sure. And the other half of this is 28 Years Later, also comes out this week. Oh, it's going to be so good, and I don't even know why. So I'm so HighKey about like 28 years of King of Drag.
Which, speaking of, shout out to Reverie. They actually invited me to that premiere party that is happening for King of Drag. So I'm going to go and support.
Nice.
It's going to be really, really fun. And shout out to Damian Pellicini, who is also a podcast, and he runs Reverie. He's like the CEO of Reverie. And so he's like, oh my God, can I come on and talk about it? I was like, Yvie and I are obsessed. We're very excited about King of Drag, and we're so excited to watch what you all are doing. All right, Ben, what about you?
I'm HighKey watching and loving Sirens on Netflix. It's a limited series starring Millie Alcock, Julianne Moore, Megan Fahey, and Kevin Bacon. And I'm really, really into it. It's a dark comedy, really about two sisters, and the story unfolds over one weekend at a billionaire beach compound on a fictitious island near Martha's Vineyard. And it just took me on a ride in a cliff, and an elusive cliff. I just really enjoyed it. I thought the acting was phenomenal. I thought the story was so much fun. And what I really loved about it is it's actually adapted from a play. And I thought that was really cool. Plays have such incredible interpersonal dynamics, and you could see how those sisters were originally written for the stage. Millie Alcock was in Game of Thrones. She played young Rhaenyra. I thought she did an exceptional job in this. Obviously she was great in Game of Thrones, but this was a character much closer to her reality, and she played it exceptionally well. And I really liked getting into like thinking about the cultish nature of being in the world of very wealthy people. And I have been in that world of very wealthy people at their houses and at their things, and how you have to treat them, and how it can be a really, really nasty, weird dynamic. And I think they captured it perfectly. So I don't know. There's murder, there's cults, there's cliffs, there's billionaires. What else could you ask for? Sirens on Netflix.
It's very Greek mythology too.
Yeah,
that's what it's rooted in. It's a really great show. I'm so happy.
And we love Netflix here, so
it's my Roman Empire.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in because I'm HighKey saying this is the song of the summer. It is Ooh La La by Justine Skye and Kaytranada. It's a song that I can't stop playing. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, once Kaytranada gets on a song with one of the R&B girlies, it just completely takes off into like a rocket ship, and it's just a moment. And I'm just obsessed with that song. I think it's been a minute since Justine Skye has kind of come back into out of her influencer era. She was hanging out, she hangs out with Kylie and Haley and all the girls and Kendall. But it was like, okay, girl, I remember meeting her she was one of the first celebrities I met, or names that I met when I first moved to LA when I was working for a fashion magazine called Code. And we were shooting her, and she was such a sweet girl. And she had so much going on then. And I think she took a little bit of a break, and now she's kind of reemerging into the spotlight. And so if you haven't listened to it, Ooh La La is the song of the summer. And I'm obsessed with it. Play it by every pool party. It works. It hits. Everybody's going to be asking you, wait, who is this?
Even if you don't have a pool, it automatically springs it up like Jesus.
Play it in the bathtub.
Yes. I mean, while you're cooking, I don't know, food. Just play it all the time. I'm streaming it constantly. I'm very, very excited. So I'm HighKey obsessed with that. And
Ooh la la.
That's our show.
Yeah, another big idea episode down. And don't forget, join us next week to hear my interview with the great Tess Holliday. I'm so excited.
Which honestly, I'm obsessed with her. I've loved her career. I think she's been such a powerhouse in the fashion industry and changing and shifting how we appreciate bodies all together. And so I'm so excited to hear y'all in conversation.
Yeah, just wait. We go there, Ryan. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
All right, y'all. Until next week, stay messy, stay obsessed, and stay high key.
Bye.
Bye.